If you're looking for some straight up marketing advice that's super chilled and also a bit of a laugh, then grab yourself a drink and get ready for Marketing and Margaritas, a podcast that makes marketing entertaining. Brought to you by Rebel Nation, direct from regional Queensland.
Hello and welcome to Marketing Margaritas. I'm joined again by Taren from the Rebel Nation crew. Thanks for coming along, Taren.
My pleasure.
So today we're going to be talking about your marketing analytics. Now, I'm sure that everyone is already all across this, does this regularly and is fully aware of their numbers. So this is probably a really redundant episode, but just in case, I just want to say too, this was not my idea. This episode was his idea.
What can I say? I think it's important.
So it definitely is. Like, knowing your data is important. And I think that is, you know, sometimes people will be doing things in business, whether it's their marketing or just things in general, where they're like, I'm putting this time and effort into this, I'm spending money on this, I don't know if it's working or what it's worth doing, etc. And that's where analytics provide the other part of the story. So it's like, if you're going to be spending time and money and effort on something, check and see whether it's working or not and how it's progressing over time. It really just helps you to make more informed decisions. It doesn't have to be about big scary numbers and, you know, striving for particular goals and all that kind of stuff. It's just about keeping an eye on the numbers so that you're informed. Is there anything that you want to add on why it's important to be looking at your data?
Not so much why it's important, but it doesn't have to be scary. So for those that are just listening and can't see us, we've actually got a laptop here and we're going to run through a few things with a couple of the most common analytics dashboards, including Google Analytics, Meta, LinkedIn, Meta Ads, and MailChimp. But as we go through it, we'll try and explain things as we go for those that are listening, but this is probably one that's best watched if you do have the option to. Yeah,
so if you're only listening on Spotify or iTunes or whatever, might want to pass this by and go to the next episode, because really, yeah, if you go to YouTube, you're not really going to be seeing our faces for too much longer. You're just going to be seeing the screen that we're looking at. So shall we dive in?
Excellent.
All right, cool. So the first one we wanted to look at was our website analytics. So the most commonly used website analytics platform is Google Analytics. It's a free platform that you can plug into your website on, I think, like any platform. I don't think there's any platform it doesn't actually integrate with.
No, it's just a little bit of code. So even those that don't have like a native integration like Squarespace, where you just put the number of your analytics, Google gives you a little snippet that you can just put into the header of your website. Ask your dev, they should be able to do that easy, and it will work from there.
Cool. All right. So I think having a look at the website analytics, I'll kick off on this one because this is the one that I more play around with. And I mean, you play around with analytics, but in a like you use other Google tools or whatever, whereas Google Analytics is really my baby. So obviously at the start you have the snapshot, but what you really want to get into is over on the left here, we've got our three sort of main categories. So acquisition, so this is how people are finding you. Engagement, so this is when people are actually thinking about you and how much they're getting to know you. And then monetization just means conversion, so when someone actually does business with you. So for those who are aware, those are the first three stages of your sales funnel or your customer journey, as it were. So acquisition is about awareness, people finding you, they know you exist. Engagement is that consideration phase, deciding whether or not you're a good fit for them. And then monetization is when they actually do business with you. So if you go to acquisition and overview, basically we're not going to do a complete down granular training session on every single one of these platforms. We just want to skip through and show you some really cool things that you can find out to hopefully pique your interest, so that if there is something that stands out to you, you maybe start go and have a look at that for yourself and then start looking at it regularly. So with the acquisition, so this is our awareness one, this is how people are finding us. So it really depends on your business as to what analytics are going to be of interest to you. I'm actually just going to change this date range so that it is a full month. Okay, so on this particular website, we can see, for example, that they have 4.1 users. So they had over 4,000 people visit their website for the month, but then out of those were 4,000 new users.
And that can be a little bit misleading with the way that these bits of data get to Google. They're actually stored in cookies. So people that use VPNs or people that use certain browsers that block those kind of things might show up as new users even if they're returning. There's a bit of, not confusion, but they're just obfuscation of data there.
It's like anything though, when it comes to, getting data or feedback or whatever, like nothing is ever 100% clean. Like there is no such thing as 100% clean data, like everything. And that's why, even when you hear statistics and stuff like that as well, everything needs to be taken with a grain of salt. Like everything needs to be looked at in perspective of other things. So for example, this one, if we were saying, okay, say even with the chance of people having VPNs and different devices or things like that, we've still got a massively fucking high percentage of new users versus recurring users here. So if this was a business that was always trying to attract new leads, then we'd be like, cool, you are bringing brand new traffic to you. And obviously we're only looking at 1 month. If we're really going to delve into it, we'd be looking at, say, the last 3 months, the last 6 months worth of data and going, are you consistently bringing in a lot of new website visitors?
And this is why it's important to set up your analytics in advance. Even if it's not something that interests you right at this moment, having that backlog of data so that you can compare it 3, 6, 8 months in the future, it allows you to see that evolution of how things are changing over time.
Yes. Anyway, as I was saying, if that is your business where you're needing that continual new traffic and new users, etc., this would be a great piece of data, and especially if it was historically showing that you were consistently getting new people. However, if your business was more about relationships and getting more out of the same people, or building a community, which a community is obviously, you do want new people joining, but you want a lot of the same people paying attention to you over and over again, because that's what community means, then these numbers would not be that good. Because you have a very small percentage of recurring. Even if we take in the fact that it's not 100% clean, if that was, even if it was half of that, it still means that you've got a really high percentage of new, but not a high percentage of recurring. So that's where data then needs to be compared to other information, like what are your goals, what are you trying to achieve? And if you go, I just want more sales, for example, well, it's like, are you wanting more sales from the same people and growing that? Or are you wanting new people coming in all the time and getting new sales there? So that's when you, having your goals drilled down a little bit more helps as well. Okay, so for this one, for example, if we were to say that they were about getting new people to them all the time and new leads and stuff, and that means that that is like their business goal, that is their strategy, etc., for their marketing, then knowing how those new people are finding them, what channels they're using to find them, is going to be super useful. So we've got, this one is direct, straight up. So direct from memory is when people put your URL directly into a browser, or if you're bookmarked. Is direct also if they come from your email signature or something else that's hyperlinked?
Yep. So again, depending on how you set up tracking, this is just standard Google Analytics, but if you use something like Tag Manager, you can tag certain links so you can tell and get more granular there. But
you can dive down deeper on where does that actual direct come from. Like, did this come direct from our emails? Correct. Because they've got different
settings there that you can tweak.
Well, just tags on them. It's just like this. It's like tagging an animal in the wild. You're tagging your different traffic sources.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a great analogy. We should use that with clients. Paid search. So obviously this is if you're doing like Google ad campaigns, etc. So people finding you that way. Organic search. So this is your unpaid search traffic. So when people are just putting in search terms, etc., and they're coming to you that way. Referral is if they're clicking on you from another source, like someone's website.
Usually socials show up as socials, so referral.
Correct. Organic socials down the bottom there. Yeah.
So referrals tend to just be on websites or,
Yes.
again, like your links that you're clicking elsewhere. So
Online directories are also referral traffic, so that's why we say to people part of your SEO strategy is to make sure that you're listed on all those kind of free online directories, because it can help drive traffic to your site.
what would be some examples of those directories?
That's a good example. Well, obviously,
Yellow
you've got like
pages?
your yellow page, like census is yellow pages. There's True Local, Yelp is still around, and then basically we've got a whole list of them. I can't actually remember them. But there's a good way of finding, like, there are some basic key ones. We can put a link in the show notes to the basic ones. But another really good thing to do is actually to search for your service or search for your competitors and see what directories other people show up on, and then go create a listing for yourself there as well. Sorry to get off on a tangent on SEO. Okay, so for figuring out how these new people are finding you, so if you were doing Google Ads and you can see that your paid search is one of your highest ranking traffic sources, like this one is, then you go, cool, the money that I'm spending there is really helping to contribute to those new users finding me, and that's what, we're pretending that this particular client is wanting. And that just leads me to one other thing I wanted to show here as well, which are, when it comes to that search traffic, the terms that people are actually using to find you. So as you can see, this one is actually the organic Google search. So this is not related to your Google Ads. This is just when someone is searching for something and they come to you through through particular search terms or whatever. Obviously, we're blurring these ones out because they are specific to this particular client. But just if you have a look for that, those headings, then you'll be able to see what search terms someone's actually writing in to find your website.
And that can help fuel keywords and potential new content. And not that you want to stuff your website with those things, but it's good to be aware of those terms.
But it's also like, oh, cool, I'm already showing up for these terms, but I really want to be showing up for XYZ. Maybe I should be doing some blogs or refreshing my content about those things, so that I can also bump those up on that search scale.
Right.
Cool. All right, then we're going to jump into the engagement overview. Obviously, there's more tabs that delve deeper in here, but like I said, we're going to try and just give a little bit of a skim and pique people's interest as opposed to go in depth, which I just keep doing anyway. Okay, so engagement overview. So engagement is about people actually considering, are you someone that they want to do business with? So one of the key things you're looking at here is how long they spend on your website and how many pages they go to. I think
you can also see what pages they have the highest engagement on, or the highest time that they're on.
Yep. So this one is really about when they're there, what are they doing and how long are they doing it for? So this is a good one to see, like, if there are particular pages that people are only on average, say, spending 10 seconds on, and it's a page that's like, your portfolio or your services. So something where you're like, this is where someone would go to really understand what it is that I do. If they're getting there and they're jumping straight off, then you're not giving them information that wants to keep them there.
That's a big red flag.
Yeah, basically. And then time on the site overall. Obviously, if you're really considering someone, then you're going to probably click around to a few different pages. Like, yes, someone might be going there just to go to the contact, but if you want to look at someone, like, if you think about if you're researching something, you would go to, say, at least a minimum of 3 pages, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Any others that you want to add into there?
I think if we just scroll down, so again, we're going to keep going. We're going to blur these specific pages, but here you can see, okay, so our homepage, 9 times out of 10 is going to have the most views by a large margin.
I'd say almost 10 out of 10. I don't think I've ever seen someone's Google Analytics where their homepage was not the most visited page.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But then you can see the other ones there and you can see how many views they're getting. From there, you can also see their activity over time, so which pages are trending, I guess, and seeing how they go over a period of time, which is more applicable if you've got people that keep coming back to your site. But it's good to be aware of those things anyway, but filter those through the lens of what your objectives are.
100%, that's what all data needs to be done. It needs to have a look at it based on what it is that you're actually trying to achieve. So, you know, if we're looking at these pages by how many people come and visit them, and we're seeing that, for example, if we've only got like say 6 pages on our website and our services page is not very high up, then it's like, okay, well, how can we make that page more attractive? Or like, it's not just the page itself, it's getting people there. So if they're not even getting there to start with, it's like, okay, maybe we need a breakout on our homepage that links directly to our services page. Maybe we need to be linking to that page from other pages as well. Like, you need to make it more attractive to them to actually click on in the first place. And then once you get them there, then you're looking at their time on site. So then if it's like, okay, they're there and they are only spending the 10 seconds or whatever, then it's like, cool, you got them there and then you fucked up because now they're leaving. So then it's time to do some things that will keep them on the page.
Our wrap-up tip will go into a tool that'll help you do that a little bit easier, but we'll shelve that one for now.
Okay, all right, cool. And then monetization, like we said, is our conversion element. So this is where we are actually seeing how many people come through. So this is not an e-commerce site. I should have thought of that. But basically, when you come in here, if you have an e-commerce site, so people actually purchase through your website, then you'll be able to see what those purchases, how they've racked up over time.
And you can see, again, you've got a lot of data here. E-commerce specific sites like Shopify, they have really good integration with Google Analytics, so they will fill out a lot of this as part of their built-in thing. But for those that aren't using e-commerce, it's not usually a thing you worry about too much.
For those of you that are, just quickly to show you, like, for example, part of what is possible here is that it can actually break down that journey for you as well as to how many people got to each stage of that purchasing journey. So we had over 2,000 people come via mobile to the site, and then, for example, say it was an e-commerce site, we might have half of them look at a particular product, how many of them added it to the cart, how many of them started the checkout, and then how many of them completed. So that's where you can see from how many people landed on your website to how many people actually end up purchasing something in particular. And then that way, if you break it down per product, you can start to see which are your highest performing products, but also which of your products are really attractive up front, but then get abandoned. So that's all, again, I know these are all zeros at the moment, but it's pretty easy to imagine that if there were numbers in there, it would really start to paint a picture, which again, that's kind of what we want from our data. All right, cool. Are you happy to go on to Meta Business Suite?
I think so.
Everyone loves Meta Business Suite, so let's just jump in because it's where we all want to be all the time. No, Meta Business Suite's a bit of a bitch, but she does. The insights used to be a lot better. That's a bit too bad sounding?
As the days and years have gone on, and I say our as in a collective society, have placed more importance on privacy. So changes to the EU and the way that they handle their data privacy with the GDPR, a lot of companies, even outside of the European Union, have been forced to do this. So may not be as good as it once was, but you can still get good data.
Sigh, whatever. Okay. All right, so Meta Business Suite is for your Facebook and your Instagram analytics. So there are sections where you can have a look at just one or the other, and where they also integrate as well. So my favorite one, no matter where, what kind of business you have and what you're trying to achieve, is actually going to the content page, because this, like a lot of the other other information there is about your overall audience and your overall page and that type of thing, which is kind of useful at a higher level. But if you're actually planning your social media, knowing what content is working for which purpose is what's most useful. So here we can change our data range again. So I'm just going to put it through to January to make it nice and simple. And you can see right at the top there, we've got all these filters and stuff that we can use. But my favorite thing is actually to sort the columns based on what it is that I am trying to achieve.
Right.
So if I want to get more eyeballs on my posts, then I can have a look at my last month's worth of content and see and sort it by reach. So it's when you just have it as normal, it shows you in date order, like
right.
chronologically the data. Whereas when you sort it by reach, you can actually see what got the most reach. So for example, again, we're going to be blurring out the information for this one, but this one got, over 200,000 views, whereas the next one is a piddly little, 7,000 views.
Only 7,000. Honestly, disgraceful.
I mean, God, the team really need to pull their socks up. I'm sorry, this is just not good enough. But yeah, it's again, if I was trying to get more eyeballs, then I can click into those top few posts and go, okay, is there any commonalities here that I can use when I'm planning my next month's worth of content to improve what I'm doing? And again, you can also be sorting it by shares, reactions, link clicks. So for example, if your goal was, Taren, what goal would I have if I am sorting it by link clicks?
Driving them to an external source, like a store or a blog, or...
So if I'm trying to drive traffic somewhere.
Yeah.
Well done, you passed the pop quiz. Should we do more, seeing as you did so well at that one?
Oh, joyous time.
That's it, folks. You heard him. He's keen for it. So if we were trying to drive more traffic, then I would sort it by link clicks to see which kind of posts are actually getting people to click. Because clicking to an external source, super fucking hard when it's on a social media platform.
And one thing to just keep in mind, I guess, is just because a certain post is doing well, that could be the wording, it could be the image. There's never going to be a surefire way to know what it is about a post that's done well. So experiment, try a few things, but make notes of them. Don't just try and then ignore that experience.
And that's why, again, what we always keep harping back to is checking your analytics regularly. So if you were coming in and looking at this every month when you're planning out your next month's social content, the first month you might be like, I am guessing that these posts did well based on this and this. You try it the next month and then you can start to confirm, was my guess correct? Oh no, I haven't quite cracked it yet. What else is consistent about these posts? And there's always going to be outliers. It's not like we're saying everything fits into a pattern, but you're never going to see a pattern if it is there if you don't fucking look at the information to start with.
For sure.
Probably should just quickly jump into audience, because that is, I guess, another, the whole reason that we have these social profiles is like the content is how people are engaging, etc. with us, but audience is, are we on track with who we're actually trying to reach? So you can see here that it's broken down into Facebook followers and Instagram followers. Taren, do you know the difference between followers and likes for a Facebook page?
I know that they're two separate buttons, and that one, I think it's followers is hidden. You don't see how many they have.
I don't know if it's hidden, but basically it was always that you hit like on a page, but then you might be looking at someone's content regularly without ever hitting like.
Right.
So Facebook then introduced the metric of followers. So you would have that if someone has liked your page, then but they may not even follow your content. They might actually drop out. So it could be two different sort of audiences.
Right. So I know you can manually follow, but you're saying Facebook automatically applies followers.
Yeah. So followers were always like if someone stopped and looked at your content, but they never actually liked your page, you still clocked them as a follower. Now the language is changing, so they actually have the follow button rather than the like button, because people are more inclined to say follow a brand as opposed to say like it.
Right.
So I may want to follow, I'm trying to think of something that I would follow and not like.
say you're a competitor and you want to see what the other businesses are doing, but you don't want them to see that you like their stuff.
Okay, so that's not something I would do. No, you can still, if you click the follow button, you can still see your followers.
Oh, okay, so you do, okay.
But if you have, like, okay, for example, some people are not really into politics. I mean, everyone in this room obviously is super keen. We love things. But for those who aren't, you might follow a particular political page, but not like it,
right?
Sort of thing. So you just want to see what content they're putting out.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we have here our breakdown of age and gender for the page, which I'm pretty sure that's what I'm sitting on. Yep, so up here we've got current audience, so you can see how many followers they have and what their age and gender breakdown is, and for Insta as well, and then by the location too, which is cities and countries. The fun thing up here is that you can click to potential audience. So this is where Meta is basically saying this is who you have the potential to reach. It is based on using their ads platform, but it still gives you a bit of an idea, I think, of what is like if you even if you don't run ads, it kind of gives you an idea of what can be possible if you're going to go into that strategy and double down on your socials. And I guess, you know, especially when it comes to like the cities, etc., it is like who you're going to be potentially appealing to in other areas as well.
It's interesting to see, especially for this page, that all of the highest percentages are, like, obviously they're major cities, but they're not ones where we are. Is that, do you think, just because there's a higher population there, or?
So the point of this particular page is actually to attract outside people to the region. So what they're saying is this is the potential for those other areas to achieve that goal, because we actually have run ads to those different locations.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yep. Okay, cool. All right. Anything else you can think of particularly exciting in Meta?
Not really. I must admit, I do a little bit of socials reporting, but that's not really my bag.
Yeah. No, fair. Okay, so we're going to jump over quickly to LinkedIn. So LinkedIn analytics are a little bit clunky, but it's still, you know, it's still something you can find a lot of information in.
Sorry, LinkedIn, we still love you.
Yes, absolutely, for anyone who's listening. So the good thing, I guess, with the LinkedIn one is that you can actually click between a whole heap of information. So if you're wanting to look at specifically, you know, engagement rate, like how engaged people are with your content, if you're just, again, how much, you know, traffic you've driven, etc., like that, you can look specifically at those metrics.
Is clicks specifically for like external links, or is that like clicking on a photo as well?
That is clicking on a photo as well. Okay. So if it says, it's got to say link click, most digital stuff, it has to say link clicks for it to actually be a link click. Like, it has to specify, because someone can click into a post to just look at the image. Yeah. Okay, so again, looking at our content and how it's performing as well. We can't sort by the columns for this one, so you do actually just have to keep scrolling to have a look at what's worked well. You can change your date range, obviously, but it's a little, like I said, it is a little bit clunkier compared to the Meta one. What it is interesting in, though, is that you can get more granular information about your followers from LinkedIn, because our LinkedIn profiles have more information about us. So in here I can see, like, how many people are coming and viewing it and stuff. That's great. But then I can actually look at my visitor demographics by a bunch of different information. So industry is always an interesting one, I think, where you go, okay, this particular person, I don't even know which client we're looking at the moment. We can see that their top three, machinery, mining, and marketing. Well, marketing's probably us. But machinery and mining is where they're predominantly getting their audience from, like they're the industries looking at them. And so it's like, cool, is that on par with what they want? Yes, then fantastic, they're reaching the right audience, or they're giving content to that audience to suit them. Seniority can also be a useful one. So if you're trying to attract, say you're doing recruitment and you're trying to attract entry-level people, do we have a number of entry-level people engaged? Yep, they're one of our top three. Fantastic. The content that we're doing is hitting the mark for our business goals.
So, sorry, if we just hover over that visitor demographic, so is that people that, again, clicking on things, like what is that when they visit your page?
Aggregated demographics of LinkedIn members when they visit your page.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so visitor normally means someone's actually going to something. Followers will be about seeing your content in their newsfeed.
Right.
It's a good question to have as far as that distinction goes. Okay, so followers, that's how many people are actually looking at what you're doing. And again, we can break that down into those particular elements as well.
Right, so those filters are available across the different data sets.
So we can see while not a lot of entry people might be necessarily going to a LinkedIn page, we're getting quite significant amount of entry level people looking at our content. And for this particular client, I've just remembered who they are based on the little logo on the side. It is recruitment pipeline is one of the things that we're doing here. So attracting those entry level people, that is a big part of their strategy for why they're doing socials.
Awesome.
And the fact that it's then going across senior and manager means that they're getting that good mix of newbies, but also people who are more established and potentially looking to jump. Whereas things like business owners are quite down low, and that's good because we wouldn't be wanting to attract an owner as a part of a recruitment pipeline. So their content's on track. Yay! The other tabs there, leads, that is when you actually set up lead forms and stuff, so that's you've got to do something specifically for that. Competitors is something where you can edit who you're following, so you can actually put in the people who, when you talk about competitor doesn't always just mean people who you're competing for business with. So for example, for us in our benchmarking, I don't put other local marketing agencies. I actually put in like a lot of the bigger digital marketing brands like Neil Patel and stuff.
Right.
I'm never going to be Neil Patel level, but I like to see what they're doing. And so this is a way of tracking that as opposed to just benchmarking myself against other local people. So competitors doesn't have to just be someone who you're grappling with for business. It can be something that you aspire to and want to learn from as well.
For those wanting to lurk and spy on competitors in the more traditional sense, if we put them down on that tab, I'm assuming that doesn't show to them.
Correct. So in both Meta Business Suite and LinkedIn, when you are benchmarking yourself, like you put someone's business page in there, they don't get notified or anything. No one knows except the people who are an admin. Right. But you can in both actually see the content that's performing well for them. And that's where you're like, oh, okay, this bigger organization that's doing all this cool stuff and that's what we're aspiring to do. This is how they're marketing themselves. This is what they're doing on their socials. And like, yeah, you can just go look at their page, but this kind of gives you a really simplified look at what's doing best for them.
Aggregates it so you don't have to go searching for it.
Just makes your life a little bit easier.
So that bottom section is what you tend to use more for the competitor, not the top bit, because you're not concerned about followers and such.
Correct, yes. Whereas if I was directly looking at competitors, so say we had a client who had 3 major competitors in the region and we were really wanting to, and they were new business and we were trying to bring them up to the same level as the others, I would 100% be looking at this section.
Gotcha.
And then employee advocacy will just be about your team sharing your stuff, which these guys do not have set up either.
LinkedIn is not for everyone, I guess.
Well, to be fair though, some of these functions are new and you actually have to set up things for them. And it's sort of like, you think about it, whether you're paying someone to do it or you're spending your time doing it. If it's not something you really need, why spend the time and money? And that's what I say, like with data, like, okay, I've just gone through every tab there for the LinkedIn one, but you might think that actually there's only 2 tabs, and out of those 2 tabs, there's only 2 graphs that I'm really interested in at the moment. So when you're going and checking your data regularly, you don't need to look at every single fucking thing. Just pinpoint the things that are of most use to you based on your goals. Look at those ones regularly. And that may change over time, so you might look at other ones too, but if you're just going back to those same ones over and over, you'll get really familiar with the numbers and what does and doesn't work for you.
Just as like a quick example, I know we're straying a little bit from the topic, but
when do we not?
Saying that our marketing strategy for this particular client might be to attract more new people and recruitment and such. So that's our goal, and then the data that we want to aggregate for that is new followers and then the content that is ranking highly for those new followers. So if you create a goal, then maybe just look at the whole dashboard for the first time and then see, okay, does this relate to my goal? If not, don't worry about it. But if it does, maybe note that down in a document or a Word thing somewhere.
And so that's what we have in our like in our social media content calendars, for example. We have a place to track those numbers so that when you're looking at them, you actually note it down, and that way you can compare month on month here, but it's sort of like having one dashboard of all those numbers does make it easier for you as well. But I mean, even if you just have a Word doc or a Google doc or something where you're like, you know, January, a lot of entry people, a lot of this or whatever, video doing well, going to try more video. February, videos tanked, maybe it was actually that the slideshows that were going well, not footage, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, you can just record information however you want as well. Keeping notes is just so useful for shit, man. We really should do more record keeping in general.
And it doesn't have to be hard. Like, again, as Jade said, our internal templates are a little bit more involved, and we have spots for the different analytics that you can then delete or add more depending on what you need. But it could just be as simple as a Word doc noting which post had the most reach, if reach is a stat that matters.
That's it. If you're like, oh, I'm trying to grow my audience, then how many people you're reaching, making sure that you're hitting good numbers each month, that is definitely going to be something that you want to track.
Doesn't have to be a big thing. Just keep that in mind.
Exactly. Can be simple. And especially when you're getting started, there's plenty of time for making things complicated later on. When you just get started with something, keeping it simple means you're more likely to keep it going. Okay. So, digital ads. So, the one we're looking at is Ads Manager, which is the Meta digital ads platform. Even though they're all sort of laid out a little bit differently, most of your digital ads are going to have the same metrics, and so that's why we thought we'd just look at the Ads Manager because it's the most commonly used.
Right.
So for this particular one, so when you are in Ads Manager, you can choose different objectives. So you might be trying to get more reach, or you might be trying to get more clicks. You know, for example, if I was having a free family event, I would want reach. I would want as many eyeballs on that as possible. However, if I was trying to recruit people, then I would want them clicking through to my website, my career page, so that they would actually apply for the job.
Right.
So different types of advertising have different goals. So we're just going to look at two different types of ads. So this one is a traffic one. So this is where we were looking for people to click the link. And so when you're in Ads Manager, you can see that because this was about trying to achieve link clicks, that's what the results are based on. So we had 285 link clicks for a $150 budget. So impressions, that had over 11,500 impressions. So impressions are how many times it appears on screen.
And how is that different from reach? Is reach the number of profiles that's seen it? So
no, reach is the amount of times people actually looked at it. And I'm using looked and inverted commas because, so impressions is amount of times on screen. So if if an ad's there but you just scroll past it or whatever, you didn't really see it.
Right.
It's on the screen, but you didn't see it. Whereas reach is someone's actually looked at it. Now, you know, if someone stops and pauses on something, it could be because they're yelling at their kid. Like, you don't necessarily know they're looking at your ad, but again, no data set is super clean.
Right.
Everything is, you know, as much as we can do. So because we were, so we had the 6,000 reach, but 11,500 impressions. So it appeared on screen 11,500 times, but it actually got looked at 6,000 times. Now, because our result that we were trying to achieve was link clicks, therefore our cost per result is our cost per link click. So this one was at 53 cents, which these days is actually not too bad. Back in the day, that would have been horrific, but it is what it is now. So $150 for 12 days got us 6,000 people looking at it and 285 clicks. So the next one I'm going to look at is a event one, and it is based on reach. So it was a free event. So we don't need to drive traffic to register or sign up or anything. We just want people to know about it. Exactly. So for this one, the results were based on reach. So we had over 260 people see it. It had over 500,000 impressions. And so therefore the cost per result is based on 1,000 people reached. And so it's saying $5.94 per 1,000 people, which is actually, this is, obviously we're going to blur it out so you can't see the client, but this is a very niche event. It is a small community sector that is into this kind of music. You know, I actually don't mind it myself, but it's not widespread.
Mainstream appeal.
Yeah, exactly. So the fact that we got, so with reach ones, you know, these days anywhere between say $4 and $7 is pretty good. So the fact that these guys were just under $6 for something so niche, I'm actually really impressed with how it went.
Excellent.
So they had much bigger ad spend. So they had 1,500. It was lasting 24 days, and it also had a bigger footprint. So there was like the targeting was bigger on geography. But yeah, again, you can just see that for them, you know, it costing $6 to reach every 1,000 people. That was still a good return for that particular event. Anything else you wanted to have a look at there? Any other questions on ads manager stuff? Because again, I know that's not one, you don't have to do digital ads for us. So
No, but that seems fairly, again, to someone that doesn't do that, that all seems to make sense.
I hope so. That's the whole point, right? We want to try and make sense to people. Okay, so lastly is the MailChimp one. So did you want to go through this one?
Sure. So again, MailChimp, in the same way that Ads Manager is very similar for Google Ads, LinkedIn Ads, etc. MailChimp is going to be more or less the same for ConvertKit, ActiveCampaign, whatever email platform.
etc.
Yeah, exactly. Again, in the same way that the GDPR is causing issues with privacy for Facebook, MailChimp suffers, or email distribution networks suffer in the same way due to the unreliability of where the data is coming from. Things like Gmail and Yahoo, those ones that are online, tend to give more reliable data, whereas things like Outlook and your desktop programs that are potentially a little bit outdated, Microsoft, they give you more grief both in crafting your emails and in the data that you receive from them. So, like, as we say with all data, take it with a grain of salt. Your email ones even more so. The data here is never going to be even close to what's actually happening. So, not even close, but yeah, just temper your expectations. So for this particular campaign, we can see that we sent it to 231 people. We're going to blur it out, but for MailChimp, you can see the audience that you send it to, when it's delivered, and the subject line. Underneath, we've got that of those 231, 79 opened it, 10 clicked on certain links within it, and then bounced emails that get sent to an address, and then an error code is sent back to the server. So that's someone who you probably want to click in, find out what their address is, and if it keeps happening, purge them from your list.
With MailChimp, you don't have to.
Oh, it does it automatically?
Yeah. So if they have a hard bounce, so hard bounce is that the email address no longer exists, they automatically clean it.
Right.
So the email's there, but they remove it from your, like they turn it to cleaned.
Right.
If they get a certain amount of soft bounces within a certain period of time, I can't remember what it is, but say they get 3 soft bounces over a year, which is a soft bounce is when someone's mailbox is full.
Right.
Then they clean them from that as well, because it's like if it's been full for a certain amount of time over a certain frequency, chances are that email address actually is no longer active.
Right. And then the last one that we have here for the big ones is unsubscribed. So people that saw that email and clicked the unsubscribe link from it.
Okay, so Taren, we've got 212 total.
231.
212 total opens.
Oh, right.
So that's one of those ones where you were talking about that can be a bit skewed, because 212 total opens can mean that people, like, yes, people might have opened on it more than once, but also some people's email programs scan their stuff when they open it, so it's sort of not a true figure.
Correct. Like a lot of schools and people that have those stricter networks, they have antivirus that will actually open, again in quotation marks, the email and scan it before it gets sent to the inbox.
Yeah, so it can be a bit thing where people will be like, oh, out of the 79 people who actually opened our email, between them they opened it 212 times. Like, what the hell? But it's like, that's not actually a true figure. So for these guys, they had 230 successful deliveries. So like you said, we went to 231. One of them has bounced, so we had 230 successful deliveries. Out of that 230, 79 have opened. Is that something I should be crying into my cereal about? Like, is it the fact that only 80 people out of 230 are looking at my email something I should be concerned about?
Depends, again, if you're using emails as something to kind of keep relevance up and make sure that your name is known, it might not be as big of a deal. Say you were sending that email though to advertise, if you're an e-commerce site, a deal or a discount that you're having, then that might be a little bit more upsetting. But again, just because 79 opened, certain things won't track open, so it might be more, it might be less.
Is this a guide as far as figures go?
Exactly.
So I would say too that people need to remember that when they're sending stuff out, is actually thinking, say we're going to take these numbers being as true and correct as we possibly can. If you were standing up in front of 80 people and talking about your business, I would think that you would find that pretty useful. So yeah, 230 people aren't standing in front of you, but 80 of them are. So it's definitely nothing to sneeze at. And I think people, when they see these numbers and they go, oh, if I go, I've got this database, but only this percentage of people looking at me. It's like, well, consider if those people were in a room with you and they're all paying attention to you at the one moment. Do you think that's important?
That's a good way of framing it.
Right?
And another thing to keep in mind, if we scroll back up, we can actually see that this email went out at 3:40 p.m. on a Friday. So a lot of people, depending on your audience, they might be clocking off early, they might check out. That might not be a high priority time for them. So that's also something that you can use to temper how you view those things.
That's an excellent point that segues into why I love this 24-hour performance graph. So this shows you where your opens come from in the 24 hours after you send your email out. And so we're always going to have the most emails when it hits people's inboxes. So when something's fresh to your inbox, that first hour or two, that's when you're going to get most people on there. However, when you go along, if there's a second peak, that can be when people are more likely going to actually look at your email as to what suits them.
Right.
So again, this one's a bit not useful because this is getting sent to a business audience on a Friday afternoon and the next day is Saturday. So the chances of there being a second peak on a Saturday, hopefully not very high. Hopefully most of us are off our business emails on a Saturday. However, say that they were sending this on a Monday and they had that initial peak right when they sent it out, and then 9 a.m. the next day was when they had a second peak, then you go, okay, maybe if we were sending our email out at 8:45 a.m., we would get more opens because it's fresh to their inbox at a time when they're more likely to be looking at emails like ours.
Right.
So that's where that time, knowing your time and stuff like that can come in useful. With MailChimp and a lot of other ones as well, while there is obviously the privacy for certain things, you can actually, because these are subscribers to your list, like you have legally obtained and gotten permission to market to these people, you can see who has actually opened your email, and you can see what links they've clicked as well. So you can say, oh, yep, there's Taren. He's opened my email, every week. He's obviously interested in what we do. Taren has opened the link for that particular event, but he hasn't registered. Maybe I'll give him a call, not tell him I'm stalking him on MailChimp, but be like, hey, bro, there's this event Mabes you want to go to. And he'd be like, I was just thinking about that. How did you know? Depends on how salesy you like to be. But yes, that's one that I find very useful as well. I guess, I don't use it from a sales perspective. I more just kind of find it interesting to
see who's engaging.
Yeah, pretty much. Cool.
That's pretty much, I think, all for MailChimp. Again, this isn't meant to be a comprehensive guide for all of them. If that's something you guys want, let us know, and we could potentially do a deeper dive on these kind of things. But from a face value, I think that's a pretty good intro into the major ones that people will get the most use out of.
Right, I feel like you're trying to wrap up my podcast here.
Maybe just a little bit.
Who is the host on this again? Sorry, was that you? Okay, so I'm going to segue into our wrap-up tips here, which I'm going to let you go with because these three are the ones that I basically am like, I've heard of this thing, find out about it because I don't want to look into it because I'm lazy. And then you're like, I love looking into things, and you get really into it and really excited, and then I just get the results, which is fantastic. Everybody wins.
Basically.
I get to look at something new, and then I just get the results. You get to do all the hard work in between. All right, so first on the list there is Microsoft Clarity.
So all three of these are not required. These are for people that really want to get deeper into their data and understand more granular things about how people are engaging with your content.
Specific things. There might be specific things they're looking at. So again, Microsoft Clarity is...
So it's a bit of code that you put onto your website and it shows the user experience through. So it's what pages people are starting on, how long they're on that page, similar to Google Analytics, but then it shows you a video and it's like, oh, they scrolled here, their cursor stayed on this text for ages, or they got to this page and then immediately clicked off, which might not be what they were expecting. It's, again, with all data, you take a guess, but this more than any other, I feel, you really seem to understand how people engage with your website specifically.
So yeah, if 2024 is the year that you're like, I'm going to be optimizing my website, that's where this, rather than just Google Analytics, having Microsoft Clarity can be more useful because, again, you can go in and see, okay, when people are on this page, they're only getting to the halfway mark, 9 times out of 10 before they're clicking off. Whereas in Google Analytics, I can only see that they're going to that page and how long they're there for. Whereas with this, I can actually see what they're physically doing on there. And also, I think too, where their mouse goes is a really interesting thing. So you'll see, and like, because we've watched ones together, obviously, where you'll see like someone's mouse go down and sort of like hover around a button, but then they'll then go up and they'll click another page instead. And you're like, oh, why didn't they click that button? Okay, that button wasn't interesting to them, or were they not sure if it was a button, or you know what I mean? So it's kind of, or they're just talking on the phone and playing with their fucking mouse, like who knows? But it does help to give you, like you said, that more granular detail about what people are physically doing on your website. So, and again, that can be overwhelming. Focus on a page. If you've got a, like, again, say I keep going back to like your services page, that's where people have a look and see if you're someone that they want to do business with. When people go onto your service page, when they're actually on there, are they scrolling down and having a look at content? Are they clicking in and having a look at stuff? Are they, because sometimes people will move mouse to where the actual eyes are, etc. So what are their movements doing where you can go, okay, this is either performing well or it's not performing well.
And best part about it is it's free. It is a new-ish...
And it's Microsoft, my goodness.
It is a newer product, and Microsoft might change that in the future, but...
Could pay gate it.
Yeah. For the time being, it's free.
So jump on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Google Postmaster.
So Google has a service where you can put in your domain and it allows you to see how many Gmail specific addresses it's going to. It shows you the percentage of people that mark that email as spam, whether automatically or manually, and a bunch of other useful stats. Again, this is only for Gmail addresses, so it's a little bit limited depending on who your list might be. Microsoft has something, but it's super specific and won't work in 99% of cases.
All right, I didn't actually know that.
I only found that out about yesterday, but
right.
So Google Postmaster is definitely the standard for that, but again, limited a little bit by...
So for us, for example, we're B2B, so we're really, we would have a handful of Gmail addresses. It's not going to be particularly relevant to us. However, if you are direct to consumer, then there's, Gmail is one of the most popular inboxes that people can have.
Like 56% of emails.
So it's definitely worth, even though it's only going to be showing you potentially half the picture, it's still worth it to see, okay, those people who, and in a way it doesn't kind of matter what email platform they're on, it just happens that it's Gmail, but people who are of a particular email platform, how many of them are getting your emails and marking it spam?
That's a good metric to know. Exactly.
So it's still going to give you that bit of feedback. And so that would be if you're trying to improve on your email marketing and doing a bit of a deeper dive there.
Absolutely.
Cool. And then for our more advanced friends, RFs? AREFs? RFs?
I always said RFs, but I don't know.
That doesn't mean that you're right,
No,
though.
exactly. They have that a lot in books. You read names and then you see the movie and you're like, that's not how I've been pronouncing it in my head.
So, RFs. Tell us about that one.
RFs is more SEO minded. So you get all of your backlinks, which are websites that link to your website. You get things like, oh, are my pages returning error codes? Are my images not loading? Is my JavaScript broken? It is...
Are my meta descriptions on point?
Exactly. Are they too long, too short, not there? Like, RFs gives you a ton of data, and it's not the easiest to filter, so it's definitely one for those that are really passionate and want to learn more about their website. But for those that do want to take that step, there's very few free tools that give you the same scope.
The same depth, yeah. And again, it's like anything. When you go into something, you're like, oh my God, there's 3 million pieces of information. Just like we've been saying, any of these dashboards, if you go in and it's overwhelming how much there is, don't let that stop you from just starting with one thing. Going, okay, if I could have this one thing running super well in my business, it would make everything else easier. What's that one thing? Okay, what's the data that's going to point to whether we're achieving that one thing?
Yep.
So just strip it all. So if you're RFs and you're like, okay, there's all of this stuff, my biggest issue is
404 pages.
Yep, and so I'm just going to concentrate on fixing that first. And once you get there, then you can move to the next thing. So we don't have to do everything at once, but we're not going to make progress if we don't do anything at all.
Basically.
Cool. All right, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that some of that got super techie. That's completely his fault. That's why he's here. He is our tech master. But obviously for the show notes, we're going to be linking to all of the tools and tidbits and stuff that we spoke about. And if you do have questions or want to learn more, just call and ask for Taren.
Unless it's socials, then it's Jade.
Right. Cool. Thanks so much for joining us. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Marketing and Margaritas. Find more free marketing tips, tricks and laughs at rebelnation.com.au.